I think with Ohio State just exploding the way they did offensively, you took Kenneth Walker out of the game. I mean, it was e- even with Ohio State getting out and sprinting the way that they did against Michigan State, I still felt like they should have stuck with the run because essentially they're just not built to try to come back from that with just leaning on Peyton Thorne, 100%. Walker, I think he had his first 3 carries was for 24 yards. So he had, I believe his first 2 runs, you guys actually stopped him like to 1 yard or no gain. And then he hit one for, 20 something yards. And I just felt like they should have stuck with it because that was, their best bet. They weren't going to get, you're not coming back just airing it out. Like Peyton Thorne's just not that type of quarterback. And really there's not many of those guys in the country that are just built that way where they can just throw it 50, 60 times and get you back in the game and not make mistakes. So, I mean, it's easy for me to say, obviously, if I'm not coaching, it's not my, livelihood or job on the line. So, um, yeah, it's interesting. If you had to just, call like one matchup, whether it's, Michigan run game versus Ohio State run defense or, some type of matchup like that, like if you had to say this game is going to come down to one matchup, what would you say it would come down to?
I think if Michigan can run the ball, that poses problems for Ohio State. And Michigan's running game hasn't been great of late, but if they can continue to, because if they can run the ball, then Ohio State's going to be on the sidelines. The Ohio State offense will be on the sidelines. So it causes several issues for the Buckeyes. One, it keeps the ball moving, it keeps the defense guessing. Two, it keeps the Ohio State offense off the field, and feels like the fewer possessions that you can create in this game, that Michigan can create in this game, the better for Michigan. And I think that starts with the running game. And they have not been great. And if they're somehow better than what they've been of late, like, because right now they're listed number 2 in the Big Ten in rushing. But if you just look at Big Ten play, they're 50 yards under that number, 50 or 60 yards under that number. And they're like 5th or 6th in the Big Ten in rushing. And their average drops almost a yard per carry. So if Michigan is better than their average in this game, that would be significant to me because Ohio State has one of the best run defenses in right now in the nation in terms of yards per carry, and they're going to bring that to Ann Arbor. And Hassan Haskins is tough as heck. He's a pile mover, not necessarily a make you miss guy. Where do Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum come in there? Is it 3 guys? Because Ryan Day talked about it this week where they have 3 good running backs. They all do different things. And so if they're all playing, that's defense is going to have to keep in mind who exactly is in there and what they do. And then also try not to do too much. They talk about doing your 1/11th. Don't, you want to know who's in there, but you don't want to get overly worried about who it is. And then just play your keys. And if they can stop Michigan's running game, they always want to stop the running game first and then try to make somebody one-dimensional. We've seen Michigan throw the ball pretty well at times, and so. But I think they would be okay taking a chance facing 40 passes from Cade McNamara in this game.
Tony, I've got a question. Then we'll hit this super chat that came in from Ty. So the Ohio State defense gives up the 31 to Minnesota. Mo Ibrahim was on pace to have just a remarkable game. And then, of course, the Oregon debacle. Okay, and even into the Tulsa game compared to their regular output against that level of competition. But here in recent weeks, certainly going through Rutgers and Maryland and Indiana, we saw improvement significantly. Then most notably, Purdue scored 31 points, but they scored 7 that were meaningful. That was a 35-7 game. So I don't know how much to pin on the defense once it becomes garbage time. And then this Michigan State offense was much more complete than Purdue, being able to run and pass, and they give up nothing. They give up a meaningless fourth quarter touchdown. So I don't want to overplay the improvement, but how much do you think they have improved, and who would be those key players that you think have spearheaded that improvement?
Yeah, they've improved by changing what they do defensively, changing the defensive play caller, figuring out exactly who they want on the field when, and that was something they didn't know well enough before the season because of everything that happened last year and all of the changes and all of the guys in and out of the lineups last year. They didn't get as good a look as they wanted coming into this season. And so they had an idea of what they were going to do this year. And early on, it wasn't working. And after the Oregon game, they switched up play callers and changed some coaching around and stopped doing the single high safety look and going more split safety and then playing three safeties. One of them is kind of like what Michigan used to do with the Viper. Ohio State has the Bullet. The Bullet will he's basically playing a second safety right now, but they still have another defensive back that can be a Sam or a cover safety as they call it. So they have a better understanding of what they want to do. They have more experience because there are a lot of guys who had very little experience. Even senior captain starting linebacker Taraji Mitchell had played very little through his first 3 years, earns captaincy, starts a handful of games, and has since been moved to the bench because Steele Chambers, the running back last year and into the spring, got moved to linebacker, and he took over that job. He played so well that he put a senior captain on the bench. And this is all part of figuring out exactly who they have, what they want to be, and then those guys executing. And what the players say is they have more confidence now because they know what they're doing. They've done it. Ryan Day has talked about all of these guys going through their firsts, and now those firsts are over. Now this is their second time doing it. This is their fourth time doing it. So they know what they're doing. They have confidence in what they're doing. It's working for the most part, but I think everybody still believes, and when I say everybody, like those of us who watch it and on the outside who watch it, like there are areas where the Ohio State defense can still be had, and they don't always get the kind of pressure on the quarterback they need. The linebackers have had issues throughout the season. I think they've gotten better. Coverage can be an issue against tight ends. Michigan has a very good tight end in Eric All, as we know. The safeties have not been great. Bryson Shaw is pretty much the only free safety remaining on the roster at this point, and he's had some issues tackling, coverage, bad angles. Lathan Ransom, the other safety, the cover safety, he has had issues with coverage and tackling and things like that. So if you can attack those two guys, there's some possibilities. I think the corners are pretty good. So they've grown, but there's not enough to cover up all of the issues. You have to cover those issues, I guess, with the defensive line, a lot like what Michigan has to do.